Scourge is, yes, he is a playable character in multiplayer, just like Rom was in Gears 1.
He's playable?
Yes,
okay.
as are the Countess.
Right.
But you don't, of course, use his chainsaw, dual chainsaw stack. But he's a slick, difficult, little tricky bastard. And did you get to the part where he kind of has his little introduction?
Not yet. I've just started taking out the Brumac.
Okay. Alright. Well, hopefully you get back to it.
Well, it's kind of a general question, really. I mean, it's been a few years since you started working on the original Gears. I was wondering, as you kind of mature and take yourself a bit more seriously and all that, if it's harder to kind of put yourself in the mind of, you know, a crazy kind of punk kid who just wants to go out and shoot stuff. I mean, do you think that as you become more serious, then you want to make more serious kind of games?
I think that it's a good question. I think it's kind of the $1,000,000 question for your average game designer, or even your Hollywood type director, you know, Guillermo del Toro, who, you know, likes monsters but also, you know, has adult responsibilities. And I think it's possible for a person to grow up and take themselves more seriously, but occasionally shift into and tap into that kind of childhood sensibility that, you know, allows you to create giant monsters and cool guns and amazing battlefields and things like that. So yeah, I mean, I think it's good to grow up a little bit. At the same time, you got to know when to downshift and then kid mode a little bit.
In the first Gears, there was a ton of cog tags to collect. Is there things to collect in Gears too?
Yeah, the collectibles is actually what they're called. It's the little scraps of paper that I was kind of talking about.
Yeah.
In Gears 1 you had all the cog tags that were everywhere, and in Gears 2, cog tags are merely a subset of that.
Right.
So whenever they're, you know, usually hidden somewhere in, you know, the closet of the hospital or off to the side and, you know, next to the derrick and things like that. When you find them this time around, there's just a little bit of fiction attached to that. So if you want to kind of read it, you can, or you don't have to at all if you just want to collect it for the achievements and things like that. So collectibles with cog tags is a subset hidden from all of this. This is the way it's going now. Hi.
She's just rolling.
Okay.
I'm just a spare part. Here we go.
Okay. One of the criticisms of the first game is that the game was actually fairly short. Is it this one sort of much bigger? Is it more?
It's longer.
Or?
Yeah, I'm not going to quantify like how many hours it is as far as how much longer, but I can guarantee it's longer. And in a world where you know campaigns are getting shorter and shorter, the Gears campaign is definitely longer than the first one. And it was almost, you know, we knew we wanted it to be longer, but we were, you know, surprised that, you know, it did wind up turning out that way because we just crammed so much stuff into the campaign. So then, you know, of course, when you finish it, you fire it up with a friend and play again in co-op. Insane.
Right. Gears has obviously got quite a hardcore competitive crowd attached to it now, like MLG and all that. Have any maps actually been designed around you know, like Bungie designed most of their maps for MLG games? Have you done something like that?
We don't do anything like that, and we don't have any plans to do it anytime in the future.
Right,
we just make Gears maps as Gears maps and let the MLG gamers and the community kind of dictate which map they think is most appropriate for gameplay.
Right, okay, cool.
Yeah, we'd like to, I mean, I'm a big fan of professional gaming. I'm really amazed that people can earn a living doing it. I think it's a beautiful thing. I mean, you know, you turn on ESPN 8 and whatnot, and there's people chopping wood, and there's a competition. You mean to tell me video games as a competitive medium wouldn't work?
Yeah.
And then at the same time, you know, I think it's important to make a game that your average person can kind of pick up and start playing, but also appeals to those kind of super hardcore gamers as well.
Back to the sort of longer, there's one more hours. Because you've got like a more of an in-depth story, is part of that time eaten up with like lots of dialogue, lots of talking? I mean, I'm just concerned that you might end up doing a kind of Metal Gear type thing where you have to sit back while they all discuss, you know, the meaning of life, and then you get on to, or is it the length of the game? Is it built up with more action scenes?
We deliberately make sure all of our cutscenes are 3 to 5 minutes in length, and no longer than that, because you know, the moment you start watching video games, the moment it stops being a video game, it turns into a movie. And I think cutscenes for some game designers are kind of a dirty word. It's kind of a, oh, I don't want to do any of those, and we're okay having them here and there because I think with the right timing and the right pacing, they fit in just perfectly. And again, we're not going to do 30 and 40-minute cutscenes. We do have moments where the guys will kind of walk along and talk at the same time. But ultimately, we allow players to skip that with the back button if they want. They can cut out all that, you know. And if they want to skip cutscenes, they can. So empower the player to find out and enjoy and steep himself in the fiction if he wants. And if he doesn't, allow him to opt out of all of it.
So it's a bigger game because there's more action.
There's definitely more action, but there's also, you know, more story as well. I mean, you can basically look at every department and see how much we've attempted to ratchet it up.
The original Gears shipped with a few maps and some downloadable content maps. Will Gears 2 ship with downloadable content, or will it be released afterwards?
We haven't. We do have plans in
Right.
regards to what we're doing in the future, but we haven't really made any announcements yet.
Okay.
You'll probably find out something about that in the next couple of weeks. I'm sorry, I can't say it yet.
That's fine.
A rival games publisher, I won't say who, was trying to influence what game I did as the main game, and they were trying to say that Gears of War, it's not really Gears of War 2, it's Gears of War 1.5.
Oh, that's
So
cute.
so what would you say in response to that, in terms of like how's the...
I think if you fired up Gears of War 2 and a berserker burst out of the wall and attacked you, and you had to deal with a section with light and dark, in which, you know, you were dealing with Krill, then you could say this is Gears 1.5, but that's not the case. Neither of those things make an appearance in the game, and we have other new bosses and a tremendous single-player campaign that's longer than the first, with a deeper story, all sorts of new features that the players can do in regards to crawling and taking enemies hostage and portable cover, the tremendous amount of new weapons, the huge mode in Horde, which is a ton of fun, as well as 7 multiplayer modes. I think it's clearly head and shoulders above the first game, and I'm a little disappointed that somebody would make that comment.
Yeah, he hasn't actually seen it, it's just a PR.
It's player hating.
Yeah, he was completely, he hasn't played it, he said he loves Gears of War, so...
Well, I mean, the problem with, you know, when you make a sequel to any sort of hit video game is it still needs to, at its core, be, you know, Mortal Kombat is Mortal Kombat, Tomb Raider is Tomb Raider, you know, and GTA is, you know, open city with hijacking cars and things like that, and, you know, you need to know which areas to evolve your game, and you need to know which areas that you don't change. You know, there's certain parts that aren't broke that don't need to be fixed, but there are other things you improve on, like the cover system, taking people hostage and things like that. So I think when you add up all the list of every single thing that's in the game, I think it's very much Gears 2.0, maybe 2.2.
Mods were quite a big part of Gears PC. Did you take any inspiration from the mods made by the community? So I remember like seeing a Locust Wave mod, which is similar to, not exactly the same, but similar to Horde.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't check out a lot of the mods for Gears PC because I was so busy working on Gears 2. And if anything, the Horde mode is somewhat inspired by Invasion, which was a game mode that Unreal Tournament had shipped with.
Yeah.
So that's largely where that inspiration comes from. But you know, a good chunk of the people who work at Epic did come from the mod community, and I'm a big supporter of it, as well as everybody at Epic. And I just think it's wonderful that people can buy a game and ultimately become a part of the business by making fan-made content. It's cool.
The demo that you were playing, that we're not playing, you had the rock one, and you were kind of using it as a mobile cover. And I was wondering if that's the only example of something like an object that you can use as a mobile cover, or if that's a theme that reoccurs in other levels but in different forms.
Well, like movable and kind of triggerable cover were kind of two of the things that we really wanted to do in the game. So, you know, you have the worm in that one sequence. You also have the enemies you can take hostage, as well as the portable shield that you get from the boomer that you can plant in the ground at any given point. We also have cover that kind of pops up of the ground in certain sections of the game. I don't want to spoil too much about what's going on there, but there's a few more tricks up our sleeves with that kind of stuff.
And is that because the areas are larger, and we talked about that you can see further into the distance, and it's not quite as kind of contained this time, is it?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a bit more wide open this time, but I think the triggerable or creatable cover is, you know, I don't think they're mutually exclusive with that. I think it's its own thing, you know, just because we thought it would be a neat way of kind of extending the idea. You know, even in level 1, Marcus kind of has creatable cover with the tables he pulls over in the hospital and stuff like that, so it was just something that we thought fit in and would be really cool with the franchise.
Yeah.
Multiplayer in Gears 1 was sometimes a bit unfair because everyone used to sort of roll around and shotgun blast everyone. Have you found a way to improve that so that people don't do it as much? Or?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the shotgun rolling crap. I've always hated it. It's not the game we built.
No.
And what we've added in this time